All right, live postcast, everybody. Welcome to Salt City Hoops live postcast and beer. Let's crack open that beer and celebrate that win here. No fancy glass, no real fancy beer here today. I guess still technically a craft beer. It's from my favorite brewery, Four Noses Brewing Company here in Colorado. We got a raspberry blonde ale, just a nice crisp 6.3 year, real sweet. It's an easy Wednesday evening beer. So cheers to a Jazz victory over the long and frisky Toronto Raptors, 131-128. Cheers, everybody. So welcome in. Ooh, nice. It's a good beer, man. I always drink these raspberry blondes when you're just looking for something just easy to drink, and I'm just the stuff that clocks in around like 4% just feels like what's kind of like a waste of calories almost. I'm not a big diet guy at all, but I do like when I can have a 6.3% beer that after I have like a can or two of these, we're have like a good happy feeling about our evening without like just clocking in those mega 13% liters we've been enjoying on many of these postcasts. Let's get to this game here. This was stressful fun. This was the classic kind of thing that you're looking for on a drudgy February Wednesday evening basketball against an Eastern Conference opponent. You kind of walk in on some of these games and you're like, some of these are just drudges, right? And we are pre-All-Star break, we're pre-trade deadline, so we're not in the total doldrums of like late February or March or even April where you do get some real garbage basketball, even from good teams. But it's cold out there, man. We were in single-digit degrees yesterday, and we get the frigid Toronto Raptors coming to town. But luckily for us, we had some real entertainment. This is what you're looking for out of some of these doldrum games, is real entertaining stress, right? The game was close throughout, but the Jazz had a good handle on things, but the Toronto would come right back. And Utah certainly made a lot of things frustrating throughout today. And we'll get into that. But the Jazz get the win, 131-128. The final score is a little bit closer than as advertised. The Jazz were up 6 with 5 seconds to go, and Gary Trent draws a 3-shot foul on Walker Kessler, where Gary Trent, I've watched his shooting form a lot. I'm actually a big fan of Trent since his days in San Antonio. And he jumped forward about 4 feet into Kessler to draw the foul, makes all 3 free throws, and then Markkanen gets fouled on the subsequent possession. Markkanen actually fouled off the ball, but the refs didn't call it. They said he had the ball when he got fouled. Now, if he's fouled off the ball, that changes the possession game entirely based on the rule book. Won't get into that. But the final score being a 3-point margin is a little tighter than it looks like. They let Scotty Barnes get a buzzer-beating 2-pointer to make it Raptors 3-point loss. By the way, Jazz -3 today. So that 2-point basket actually mattered. I wonder if Scotty Barnes had a point or two on the game. So story of the night, I do think the MVP of the night was Mark, and I'll talk about his game in a second, but the story of the game was certainly Walker Kessler. Starts off the game with 5 blocks in the first quarter, and then he has another block in the second quarter, so he finishes the first half with 6 blocks, and you're thinking like, oh, we're in triple-double range here for a minute. But he only gets 1 block in the second half and finishes with 7. He looked like he was chasing a few blocks there towards the end, but he was playing the good, sound, fundamental basketball. This is a team in Toronto that doesn't have a lot of 3-point shooting, especially at the forward positions. Obviously, they start Trent and Van Vliet, who are good 3-point shooters. But when you get into the forward positions, those guys are slashers, they're cutters. And while Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam are capable, theoretical 3-point shooters, they want to get on top of the rim. They want to herky-jerk their way into drawing fouls or just kind of getting on top of the rim if they have the athleticism to do that. And Kessler's just there all day, right? And then you think about the bench forwards that Toronto's rolling out there. It's the same thing, right? Precious Chua starts at center. He has no range, so he's obviously trying to play around the paint. He got blocked a few times. You got Christian Koloko, the rookie center. You got Chris Boucher, who hit a three-pointer today, but he definitely is He plays around the rim. Thaddeus Young has a little bit of range, but he's an older mid-range kind of guy. He got blocked by Kessler once, so you're not throwing out forwards with range, right? And Van Vliet, even for him, like he's a good 3-point shooter, but he likes slashing inside. Gary Trent, he's a good 3-point shooter, but he also likes slashing inside a little bit. So this was Walker Kessler's able to contest many shots, blocks a bunch. So 6 blocks at halftime, finishes with 7 blocks, 5 blocks in the first quarter alone. Now, some of his blocks, though, if we're being honest with ourselves, is because Utah couldn't rebound the basketball. Utah is a notoriously bad rebounding team, and that has gotten a defensive rebounding team, and that has gotten a little bit better since Walker Kessler's got more minutes in lieu of Jared Vanderbilt. Kelly Olynyk did play today for 20 minutes. Not sure what his minutes restriction is. This is his second game back from his ankle injury. Olynyk played 15 minutes last game, plays 20 minutes today. But Ochai Agbaji finished the game today, but I think that might have been more of a strategic decision than Olynyk on a minutes limit decision, but we don't really know. So, excuse me, taking a sip of beer as we talking rapid fire here. So, lost my train of thought, of course. Walker challenging around the rim. Walker Kessler. Why have I completely lost the thread on what I'm trying to say? The rebounding, yeah. So Kessler gets a bunch of blocks off of offensive rebounds by the Raptors. So while the rebounding has gotten better for Utah with Kessler in the lineup, the rebound overall was ghastly today. I thought Kessler also struggled on retrieving some balls that were in the air today. Toronto finishes with a 42.2% offensive rebounding rate. You think about it, like over 4 out of every 10 misses. They get back, and that's unconscionable. That's one of the highest marks in the league that you're going to give up. The Jazz as a team, they're still way down at the bottom. They are 26th they're up to 22nd now in offensive rebound rate. They finally got below 30%. They're at 27.9%. But on offense, Toronto's 4th in the NBA at offensive rebound rate. They rebound 30.1% of their misses. That makes sense with the lineup they have. Obviously, you have Scotty Barnes playing forward. You have Siakam's really good at that. Achua, he's only played a lot recently, but he's a good rebounder. And then you're just constantly rotating in these long, lanky forwards that are good at just causing chaos and rebounding, right? It's like an entire bench full of Jared Vanderbilts, right? So they are a good offensive rebounding team. So I'm going to look at this and be like, all right, I can give a little bit of a pass when it comes to what has happened with the rebounding today. But I do feel like a large chunk of them are just hard to give up. And really watch the team give up this many offensive rebounds. I use rebounding percentage because that's a more accurate stat to say, like, hey, how many of what percentage of the misses were actually acquired instead of just pure numbers. But the pure number is absurd. 25 offensive rebounds. 9 offensive rebounds for Scotty Barnes. 5 offensive rebounds for Pascal Siakam. 5 offensive rebounds for Precious Achiuwa. And these aren't there were a couple that were the Jonas Valanciunas volleyball style, where he kind of was just like tapping it to himself a lot and just can't get it in the bucket. A lot of these offensive rebounds were just consumed and reset by Toronto. It didn't necessarily get reset all the way out to the point guard, but you would get an offensive rebound and they would secure and put 2 hands on the basketball and think about, like, okay, how am I going to go back up for this? Miss again, get it back. And so Walker Kessler gets a few blocks that way, which was helpful, but we couldn't rebound the basketball. And some of it's personnel. There was one situation where Colin Sexton was poor Colin Sexton trying to, all 6'1" of him trying to box out Scotty Barnes. That wasn't going to happen, and he was actually trying really hard. So it was a little bit of a struggle today watching that. So offensive rebounding was and look, this team is just so good at forcing turnovers. The Jazz finished with 16 turnovers today, which is again a crazy amount. They have 16.2% turnover percentage, which would be in the bottom third of the NBA over all games played this year. Even that quantity of turnovers just doesn't sound good. And then when you look at the charts, I mean, second chance points, 18 points for Toronto, 28 fast break points for Toronto. This is Toronto's game, right? Like they thrive on this sort of chaos element that is a very controlled, coached chaos. Not like what we were seeing out of Utah in the beginning of the season, where it's like, hey, we don't know what kind of good defense we have, so just kind of stir shit up. They are very calculated in how they are able to get in passing lanes, get steals. They know based on the scouting report, like what players can you double team, what players can you force into making bad decisions, and then they are so fast. If a player gets a steal, they got guys flying down the court, and even if it's effort-based and you're trying to keep up, they are fast. So they were on top of every turnover was leading into buckets. So 16 turnovers, not necessarily, 28 fast break points isn't necessarily all based on turnovers. They can be misses and such. But when you are losing the possession game by 16-7 on turnovers, and Utah had their own decent offensive rebounding night, but only 13 offensive rebounds for Utah compared to 25 for Toronto. Utah's fighting the possession game real hard, and these are the exact kind of games that Utah has definitely lost many of, and why their record is at 500. And if they just were a little bit better on the possession game with turnovers and offensive rebounds early in the season, I mean, we're looking at a 3-4 seed, right? But that's not who they are, right? Like you can't say like, oh, this is necessarily unlucky, right? Kelly Olynyk's playing a ton of minutes early in the season. He can't rebound. He's really struggling at defensive rebounding this year. So, yeah, that's a weakness you can exploit. Turnovers, yeah, other than Mike Conley, who protects the ball, and Lauri Markkanen is a super low turnover guy, this team is full of guys who throw the ball around the gym, right? Jordan Clarkson, obviously a big culprit of that. Lauri Markkanen, super low turnover player. Lauri Markkanen, 4 turnovers today. 3, and Mike Conley is a low turnover guy for his usage. He has 3 turnovers today. 3 turnovers for Sexton in only 19 minutes. And it's hard to lose a possession game that way. So Lauri Markkanen, I say, is my MVP of the game because, look, it's almost like you feel like he struggled today. I think he had 8 or 9 points at the half. He finishes with 28 points, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. He shot very poor from 3 to start. He finishes 4 of 9. Jazz as a whole, by the way, 17 of 47 from 3 today. Malik Beasley started 4 of 5 from 3. He finishes 4 of 11 from 3. So he had a nice hot start that was not matched. And of course, Utah going up against a star player, star point guard type player, and Fred VanVleet, who's having a horrible efficiency season. Of course, VanVleet, small scoring point guard, goes off against Utah. He was 12 of 25 today, 4 of 9 from 3, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, and he has 12 rebounds, 10 assists. He gets the triple-double. That has been so hard to acquire for Utah. But yeah, VanVleet was terrific today. But Markkanen, I thought, was the MVP of the game just because that efficiency is so reliable. 13 rebounds were really important. He was a rebounding machine in the second half. Because as I mentioned, the Jazz were struggling on offensive rebounding, giving up a lot of offensive rebounds in the first half, and I thought his rebounding was great in the second half. He had fewer rebounds overall compared to the first half, but I think as Toronto was swarming in, really trying to come back into the game and get that victory and take over the lead, Markkanen's rebounds were more contested, I thought, in the third and fourth quarter, and he really did a great job. By the way, Markkanen's 4 turnovers were all in the first half. He really settled down as I'm looking into the quarter-by-quarter breakdown. Also, the shot chart, by the way, you should definitely take a look at that later. That's all paint shots, all threes for Utah. So that Utah was winning the math game, forcing Toronto into a lot of mid-rangers. This is a well-coached team on that sort of defensive style, and it was just about the possession game, which is why this game was close. So, is what it is. And so as the Jazz shore up that level of possession battle, the rebounding, turnovers. They will be a formidable opponent for any team coming in. Other notable things today. Obviously, Kessler and the 7 blocks. That was just so fun to watch, those 5 blocks in the first half. Jordan Clarkson, nice efficient day today for him. And I did not feel like he was out of control. I thought his defense on Gary Trent and Fred VanVleet was pretty adequate today. 5 of 12 from 3 today. Love that. Mike Conley, this might have been his best game of the season. 19 points, 8 assists, and his foul baiting today was really, really nice. He drew, I think, 3 and 1s today, including a very clutch fast break and 1 late, where he's just going up for a fast break layup, but he senses Siakam behind him, so he just pump fakes and then draws a quick and 1, which is it's the easiest and 1 you can get. In the first half it wasn't an and 1, but he was drawing shooting fouls just based on pump fakes. So it was an element to Mike Conley's game that you want to see him get a little bit better at as he ages, to say, like, if you're going to be on the floor, and yes, you have the threat of the 3-pointer, but your floater isn't quite what it used to be. But he's still quick, he's still fast, that's why he's still good in a starting role, is like he can get by a guy with dribble moves or rejecting screens or feints or using screens. He's really good at getting to the teeth of the paint, and that is a valuable skill. So now he has to figure out, okay, now what do I do when I'm there? He used to have floaters, he used to have, that S-tier quickness to get more balls laid in off the glass, but now I want to see him use his pump fake game a little bit better. Like, we'll see how that evolves over time. I thought, look, one game does not a trend make, but I thought maybe I would like him to look at the tape today and see, like, hey, you have an aggressive defense like this, get into the teeth of the paint, and if you can make a play with your body, the refs are going to give you those calls. They almost didn't give him a shooting foul at one point in the first quarter, which was absurd. It was just like he got pump faked and had a guy draped all over him. I had no idea why they wouldn't give a shooting foul there. So, yeah, VanVleet goes off in the fourth quarter. Did best we can to hold him off. Kind of nondescript Colin Sexton game today. I did think his defense was a little impactful, but then he got out of control defensively at times. But he had 2 big threes. And his defense was he a plus? No, Kelly Olynyk was a team high +8 in his 19 minutes. Olynyk only going 0 of 3 from the field, but his facilitation and his presence and the way he spaces out opposing defenses, I really thought opened it up for Kessler and for Conley. Look, Kessler's blocks came with Olynyk and Markkanen on the floor, right? So Utah was matching length for length, and while Raptors have a different style of length, you're still putting out 3 7-footers out there, or near 7-footers, to contest that and be around it. So Kessler was able to kind of muck up the paint a little bit because he had some good fellow rebounders and paint muckers around with him. Nondescript game from Jared Vanderbilt today. He was a -1 today. He had some good moments, but nothing worth writing home about. One real bad foul where he lost, I think it was Boucher. Jared Vanderbilt is guarding Boucher in the right corner, and we're playing with Markkanen, and there was a guard, or maybe it was Siakam, who got into the paint, but whoever had the ball was either well guarded or the help was coming from Markkanen, where Vanderbilt didn't need to help, and so Vanderbilt ends up getting into a half. He gets into no man's land where he takes a step in to help away from Boucher, and he is completely lost where Boucher is. And because Vanderbilt isn't fully committed to helping, he's not really tethered to who that corner 3-point shooter is, or really has him in his periphery. And Boucher just streaks in right in front of him, gets the ball, and goes up for an and 1 layup, where Vanderbilt just realized, oh shit, there's a guy in front of me, I had to follow him. So just a great play by Boucher, great cut, great pass, but you just can't do that sort of half measure help. You have to know where your guy is in the corner, or if you're going to help, make that pass really difficult, right? Like send the triple team in or whatever, right? And a guy like Chris Boucher, yeah, you can leave him a little bit more open in the corner. He's not the deadliest 3-point shooter. That sort of half help is just you see these team defense moments that are just, they are coaching things, right? And this has been Vanderbilt's issue for 2 years now. and I'm not sure how that's going to get better. He's got these discrete NBA skills that if the game flow isn't going in his direction, it's hard to have him on the court. And so if we get a first round pick for it, I would be thrilled. I like seeing Agbaji close the game. I would like him to get more than 60 minutes, but it's hard to see who he's going to get those minutes in lieu of. Actually, 60 minutes is a healthy amount for a rookie. Like, I shouldn't complain too much. He had 2 wonderful threes today. His third three did not go in. That's what 2 of 3 means, I guess. He was kind of an NPC otherwise, right? Like, you saw a lot of Agbaji standing in the corner on his possessions and everything. But when Utah is fully healthy, it can be a little hard for him to get into the action that way. But I would like to see him take a little bit more ownership in some sort of way. So that's kind of a simple, quick rundown. I think we can wrap this one up early. I just wanted to give our quick little postcast to tell you what happened today in the game. Kessler was just absolutely terrific today, fending off a long and difficult Toronto Raptors team. Raptors finished with 25 offensive rebounds, and they force Utah to commit 16 turnovers. So it's a physical, long team. This is exactly how the Raptors win their games when they do. But Utah was able to score enough points. They got up 47 threes. They made 17 of them. Beasley, Clarkson, Markkanen, all big from 3 today. And they rebounded when it counted, with Markkanen's 13 rebounds, Kessler's 14 rebounds, and Mike Conley was delightful setting up everybody. Mike Conley with, I think it might be a season high, with 9 free throws today. So just a delightful game to watch. Had a lot of fun watching this one. They gave us a run for their money, right? And this was a game to watch. I really enjoyed watching it tonight. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else from the player side we should talk about. Kessler's free throws, 1 of 3 today. Would like him to get more about at the 60% level. And the Raptors were just absolutely swarming any player who seemed like they were in inopportune position. That's been the Raptors' MO for a few years now. If they sense blood in the water with ball handling, they attack, and this can be off of rebounds, where a guy like Markkanen or Kessler gets the rebound and they were really swarming them tight, or if you see Jordan Clarkson kind of drifting off, kind of into no man's land, like in that space between the 3-point line and out of bounds. Like they would randomly send a double, right, and to make him make a very difficult pass. And Utah got out of those a little bit, and it was the turnovers that were frustrating were the by rote passes. And what I mean by that is, like, okay, I have the ball and I know exactly where it's supposed to go next. Let me just, I'm not looking at who I'm throwing the ball to. I'm just rotating my neck, rotating my body, and passing it off to the next guy without really seeing, kind of looking where I'm throwing the basketball. And so you end up having a defender who's kind of reacting to that, and they're able to pick that ball off because they're sort of waiting for you to make that pass around the horn. And there were a few turnovers like that, dribbling off of legs, just really dumb stuff. And with the Raptors, they just fly down the court, and they're just easy fast break buckets. And that was frustrating to watch at times. So Jazz offense was terrific today. They gave up a lot of offense based on giving up turnovers and giving up offensive rebounds, but the Jazz shooting well from 3 and drawing a bunch of free throws was great today. This might have been their highest free throw rate of the season. Over half of the Jazz shots today were from 3. Just realized that. So that would have been one of the very highest marks today. And Toronto only shooting a fifth of their shots from 3, which would have been one of the very worst marks in the NBA this season. Worst is relative, right? But like the Raptors just don't shoot threes, so they were just getting funneled inside, and Kessler was there to disrupt a lot of shots. He was terrific today. And if he just rebounded just a little bit better, like you say, like, okay, he's got 14 rebounds. How much better can you be? But if he just swallows a couple more rebounds, this could have been easily a 12, 15-point game. And Kessler is a plus 12 and a plus 13 instead of a plus 4. Kessler's only 30 minutes because you still got to give Vanderbilt 18 minutes, right? Like, Vanderbilt is a worthy player to have on the court, and I think contenders would like seeing Vanderbilt come in for 15, 18 minutes and causing chaos. Will they give up a first round pick? I don't know about that, but if I'm Utah, I'm starting to wonder if it's time to start taking the club out of the bag, right? If it's, hey, maybe Vanderbilt isn't a first round pick, we're not getting first round offers for him, but do we really want that guy coming in training camp next year? Maybe not. Right? Like, maybe just he has a very cheap contract. He's got $4.5 million next year. But watching his progression from the beginning of the season, I just don't know if it's going to be worth it to keep him around. Like, I don't see him getting better, and he hasn't gotten better from the beginning of the season. So I don't know what offers are out there. I don't think there's first round offers out there. I think it's what you have a funny moment of during the Nate Duncan mock trade deadline. You have Danny LaRue turning down first round picks from Boston and Brooklyn for Jared Vanderbilt. He turned down he was acting of the role of the Jazz, right? So he, in this mock exercise, he's playing the role of the Jazz, and Boston called up and said, hey, we'll give you our 2025 first, and the matching salary will be Danilo Gallinari. Gallinari obviously out with a torn ACL this year, and he will be he does have a $6.5 million contract next year. Excuse me. And so, that's a negative value contract. But, yeah, Gallinari can shoot, stand in the corner, whatever, and draw some fouls. And Gallinari's, 33, 34 now? He's 34. I don't know when his birthday is, but he's a 34-year-old. He's also pair him up with Simone Fontecchio, right? So Gallinari could play a weird, useful sort of bench role for him next year. And it was Gallinari and a first-round pick, a 2025 top 8 protected first-round pick. And that is probably, if you're looking at Boston, right, with Tatum and Brown and their trajectory, that looks likely to convey in 2025. Maybe it won't be the best first-round pick in the world. Maybe they'll be 20th or something like that. But, I would take that for Vanderbilt. Especially because Walker Kessler's emergence, right? It feels bad to have to bench Kessler to get 18 minutes out of Jared Vanderbilt. I just don't see the point. The other deal that Danny turned down, and Danny LaRue turned down, acting as Danny Ainge, was Brooklyn offering a 2026, I think it was, or 2027 Philadelphia first-round pick, which was top 8 protected, and Cam Thomas from Brooklyn. And that, I think, would be even sexier, right? Because you're dealing with a Philly team that is a contender now, but with Embiid's age, health, etc., Harden's age especially, who knows where Philadelphia is going to be? And yeah, sure, it's top 8 protected, but if you have a middling Philadelphia team in 2026, 2027, that can roll over a couple years, right? And then you end up with a top 5 or 6 pick, depending on the ongoing protections after that. That could be a really good pick. It's a few years down the line, and you have the moral hazard of trading current assets, current players for way future picks. But I think it's very clear that Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck have license to stick around for a while. So I don't think they're looking at acquiring 2029 draft picks thinking that's not for me. I think Utah would do both of those deals. Mike Conley showing out for potential trades, right? So this is exactly what a team like the Clippers could use. If you're watching, it is a battle of the point guards that the Clippers might trade for, with Van Vliet going for a triple-double and Conley doing a very workmanlike 19 and 8. So, yeah, you might have to trade 2 first-round draft picks and 2 of your rotation players for Van Vliet. You could probably get away with 1 first-round pick and no rotation players for Mike Conley if you're the Clippers. It doesn't even have to be a good first-round pick. It can just be a protected pick of some kind. I don't have their draft pick cash in front of me. Obviously, they gave up a ton in the Leonard and George situations, but that was a few years ago. They have a lot more first round picks opened up. I think they acquired a first round pick or two in the Norman Powell, Robert Covington sort of swapping around when they acquired those guys from Portland. So there are first round picks that the Clippers have available that maybe they're just kind of bundling all up that you would trade for Van Vliet. But Conley's way more gettable, and I don't know if Utah is okay with taking just a bad first-round pick for Conley, but this was a great audition, and he continues to play well. Beasley continues to do exactly what Malik Beasley should do, which is jack up a bunch of threes and be decently efficient on a very difficult array of attempts. He had 2 wonderful assists today, too. I'm going to write about this a little bit in my trade likelihood column coming up. Beasley is more than just a gunner, right? He has shown a surprising acuity to score amongst the trees in the paint. He's got a surprising game there. I've always been really impressed with, it's not a fabulous 2-man game passing acumen, but if you put him in a pick and roll situation, he knows how to make the right passes out of it. You can give him second side dribble responsibility. He's not just some random relocating 3-point gunner like a Bryn Forbes or a Landry Shamet. Like, you can rely on him to do things with the basketball other than just shoot it, right? And because he is a good dribble, maneuver, passer, etc., he also has a wide array of shooting ability off the dribble, contested off the dribble threes that go in. So it's been a nice little addition over the past couple weeks for Conley and Beasley, and Vanderbilt doesn't look like an attractive trade piece, and so you're really trading for Vanderbilt's potential. He's already in his 5th season, guys. Like, I don't know how much you're betting on another team to still see potential in him that I just don't see. And Kelly Olynyk, I think, is showing he's not decreased or increased his value over the past couple weeks. Obviously, he's had the sprained ankle, but I think from the beginning of the season, you're seeing what Kelly Olynyk is a weak defender, weak rebounder, but he can really make your offense hum if you need to. So a useful 20-minute a game guy. And if you're a contender, like, okay, we can dramatically upgrade a bench forward, bench center position by several tiers by having Olynyk around. He could swing a couple playoff games. I think that really does matter. Is it worth a first-round pick? I don't really know. I probably wouldn't if I was a contender, but might be useful. I think my Spaces link just cut out. Well, I think that's the world telling me that I should end the discussion here on the trade discussion. This has been your Salt City Hoops live postcast, everybody. I don't know why that randomly disconnected me, but I'm here. I'm here on YouTube, and I think we'll shut this one down for the night. We got Friday against the Hawks. The Hawks today, I think they played tonight as well. Yeah, Hawks blowout win at Phoenix today. Phoenix was not shorthanded today. No Devin Booker, but they had Chris Paul. They had DeAndre Ayton. Cam Johnson played his minutes, but they blew him out real early. Trae Young with 20 and 12. John Collins, he only played 24 minutes today, had 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 blocks. We'll see if he ends up being a Utah Jazz man at the end of the day. So Hawks with a big blowout. They will obviously be off tomorrow before we play them on Friday at home. Hawks 25 and 26, so they're not the biggest threat in the world, but hey, Trae Young, that's exactly the kind of player that we struggle against. And they have DeJounte Murray playing well as of late. So we'll see what happens on Friday with the against the Hawks, but this has been your Salt City Hoops Live postcast, friends. This has been a delight. Happy to have a beer with you. Enjoy the Jazz win over a frisky, long, tough Toronto Raptors squad. And Walker Kessler was dominant with 7 blocks. He had 5 blocks in the first quarter. We were wondering if the triple-double streak would break, but he just had 1 block in the second quarter and 1 block in the fourth quarter. So he finishes with a mere 7 blocks today. Lowry Markkanen, MVP of the day, as he is most days for the Jazz, with 28 and 13. I should have listed Mike Conley on the graphic today because I think he was probably a little bit better than Clarkson today. But Conley with 18 points, 9 assists, and Clarkson very efficient, 23 points for him, and a nice tidy 5 assists out of him as well. So had a great time watching this one today. Love a little bit of stress that still ends in a victory. So that will do it for the Salt City Hoops live postcast and beer. Cheers to you guys, and we'll catch you Friday night. Good night.